perverts and pedophiles have jobs. It would make a lot of sense for them to get into a role where they can work alongside or even be the one to hire your kid. Parents, what in the world are you doing? You let your teenager go to their job and just assume everything will be fine? Why? Because their boss passed a background check? Maybe? Even if they passed it, did it ever occur to you that maybe they just haven't been caught yet? Your child spends time with an adult, someone you know almost nothing about. Now, if that person is a pervert, they can think of very clever ways to groom your son or daughter without them even knowing. Grooming is not as obvious like them physically touching your children. Hopefully, if that happens, your kid would tell you it happened. With grooming, it's a far more subtle approach to manipulating your child. Essentially, what happens in grooming cases is, since kids are impressionable and naive, they won't even realize they're being groomed. They won't even realize the dialogue with their abuser is completely inappropriate. So to expect kids to come home and tell you what happened to them, they may not even know they're being groomed. Let's take a look at the child grooming process an abuser will use to begin an inappropriate sexual relationship with your child. Identifying and targeting the victim. Well, they work together. Gaining trust and access. Well, they work together. Playing a role in the child's life. Again, they work together. The abuser's first 3 steps are all highlighted in green because they work with your kid. Until pedophiles start holding up warning signs, then there's not much that can be done about their first 3 grooming steps. The good news is, in those first 3 steps, there's usually witnesses around, customers or coworkers, and so this isn't the time when the abuser really takes action. Not yet. As for the last 2 steps, initiating sexual contact and controlling the relationship, they're highlighted in red because that's when the relationship enters into a whole different level of alarm. So what's the best way to prevent those last 2 grooming steps? We try to prevent them well before it ever takes place. EPS intervenes 2 steps ahead of the abuser ever initiating sexual contact with your child. Isolating the child and creating secrecy around the relationship are dramatically reduced when EPS is used. How? Well, now with EPS, you essentially get to be there with your kid while they're at work. For all those closed-door meetings or any time there's no witnesses around, this is when pedophiles plant their manipulation seeds. With EPS, the abuser that would have otherwise groomed your child, now they know mommy and daddy are listening. Oh, they're gonna check themselves the next time your kid raises their shield. Bad people do bad things when nobody's watching. Just think about it. Doors are designed to protect information, but they're also designed to protect people. Unfortunately, in the workplace, they can have the exact opposite effect. Closed-door meetings have become a breeding ground for inappropriate behavior and unprofessionalism. These horrible events manifest themselves in the workplace into categories more commonly known as racism, sexual harassment, false accusations, sexual orientation or religious discrimination, general unprofessionalism, and even child grooming. When you see that door close, anything can happen, and it's now your word versus theirs. And it's not just when you're behind a closed door. These problems can happen anywhere at your job. In the hallway, at your own desk, the parking lot. Abusers will target their victims when there's no witnesses around. And not just physical abusers, but verbal abusers as well. Bad people do bad things when nobody's watching. EPS gives you the ability to change all of that. The next video will explain exactly how the EPS magic can change your work life forever. Just remember to raise your shield.